Hey guys, this is the Betamax man. We've got a Sony SL-S600 that I'm working on, and let me show you what's going on, and I'll show you some of the reasons why it's doing this. But let's just, we're going to plug this in. Now we're going to put a tape in, and I'll show you what it does here. It's also got a problem with the cassette housing there. There's a break in the cassette housing too. So if we put a cassette in it, and this is what will happen. We're going to go put a cassette in, and I'll show you what it does. Doesn't complete the loading cycle. Now, basically, it's not completing the loading. That's all it's doing. So it goes, it threads up to here. It doesn't quite complete it, but it's just about completes it. And what happens? Well, it ejects because it doesn't detect any kind of power going to the head-drum motor. There's something going on with the head-drum motor. Why is the head-drum motor not working? Well, now I can show you that. I'm going to show you that because now we showed you what's going on, but we'll show it to you again. So that's what happens. That's what's happening. It's not completing the loading cycle. So I'm going to find out, investigate what's going on here, why there's no power. I'm going to do a voltage test. I want to do a voltage test and see if this head drum is even receiving power. So it could be a power supply problem. It could be a bad capacitor in the power supply that's causing the head drum not to come on. So if the head drum will not spin until you hit play. But if it's not detecting that there is power going to the head drum, then it's not going to complete its loading cycle. So this is what's going on. Well guys, I feel really stupid. As I was working on this thing, because this thing had a problem with threading and unthreading, and it was jamming up, and I lost the footage. But as I was working on it, I was disconnecting some connectors so I can get the board flipped all the way out. So I forgot to plug back in the drum motor. Alright, I got it plugged in. So like I said, I was lifting the circuit board, and I disconnected some wires so it would make it easier for me to flip it up. If you want to, also you got to disconnect this ribbon cable. That's the first cable you want to disconnect, and then there's a couple of short wires that you want to disconnect, and the board will actually flip right over. And so when I was working on it, as you can see, the wires have even the wires pulled out of this little holder here. These little plastic tabs that hold the wire into place there. So okay, we got it plugged back in. So we should make progress, but that's the symptom. If you don't have power going to your video head drum on the B3 chassis, what will happen is it won't complete the loading cycle. It will just, because the mode switch won't even come on to complete the cycle, because there's a rotary encoder switch, the mode switch, which comes on and gets activated just before you can put it into play. So that rotary encoder switch will go through a mode. The motor will make a certain sound. It'll go and then you can hit play or whatever thing you want to hit. But yeah, they got rid of the solenoid with the B3 chassis. They've got rid of the solenoid, but they started having the Capstan motor drive both the Capstan and take up in supply reels, and then of course it's got a tensioner here to keep tension on the tape. And so let's see what we get, see if we get anywhere. I do need to change this out as well, because this has got a broken gear or something. There's a gear that's probably cracked, and because it's having trouble threading unless I push on it to make contact, it'll struggle to thread, as you've seen. Yeah, let's get this thing plugged in. And I still got a Capstan. I still got a Capstan motor that's not working too. So I still gotta try and see if I can get another Capstan, because I have a Capstan off of a 360, but I don't know if it's going to work, because where the connections are different. Like pin 1 would be in pin 3 area. So if it's not the same, see, pin 1 is over in pin 5, and then you have the original part, pin 1 is for pin 1. Well, with the replacement part, pin 1 might be actually going to pin 3 instead of pin 1. So that's the problem with sometimes changing out the motors. It may not have the right configuration. Yeah. Not wanting to make connection that's got a problem in there. Well, guys, I did get it to load, so I did finally repair the loading problem. So this motor replaced this motor, and it solved the problem. So, but also wasn't getting any connect. But now we don't have, our Capstan's not turning. So we go into play, the Capstan motor is just not doing anything. So in order to fix this, I would have to have another Capstan motor, because as you can see, it's going to sit there and play, but the tape's not moving, and that's due to, now maybe I got the capacitor on backwards, that could be, or maybe it's just too high a voltage because I didn't have any 16s. I had a 25, but that really shouldn't matter. Given a little bit more voltage, that really shouldn't be a problem, but maybe it is, but it is working like it's supposed to. So it is loading now, and but we got that problem solved. But we have one more issue. Well, great. Well, hey, Capstan motor's dead. Now I do have a Capstan motor out of a 360, but the issue is the pins are different. It's a 9-pin. This one is an 8-pin connector. The 360 has a 9-pin connector. So now if we insert a cassette, and now it works. But we have an issue where we have no Capstan. So without a Capstan motor, this thing is not going to work, obviously. A lot of the times, the easiest fix is to put a new capacitor on there, because the capacitor was dead, but it could have damaged the traces. So let's see what I can do, and I'm going to use my little bit of knowledge that I have, and we're going to see if we can get that Capstan motor to work. So I'm going to work on that little Capstan motor. I'm going to see if I can get, maybe, just maybe we can get some life out of it. I don't know. I'm back working on the SL-S600 here. And this Capstan motor is completely dead. I thought that by changing this capacitor here would bring it back to life, which most of the time on these models it will bring it back to life, and it will get the machine up and going again. But unfortunately, this one is dead beyond repair. I have to replace the Capstan motor with another one. So I have another one. I think this other one works, but I'm not really sure. But it has had the cap replaced on it as well. And this is it right here. So this is what we're going to change. As you can see, this has got a capacitor that's been soldered on there as well. Because the original surface mounted one goes bad. So we're going to put this one in. I think this is going to work. I'm pretty sure that this motor is good, but I'm not 100%. So we're going to swap it out. We'll change it out. So first we need to take the old one out. So you just pull the actual motor off, and we'll of course unplug it. There's 3 screws that have to come out, and then this Capstan motor will come off and we can replace it. So as you can see, the new one is on. Okay guys, it's been changed out, as you can see, and here's the old one. And yeah, the capacitor came off when I pulled on the capacitor to pull this up, and it pulled off there because it wasn't attached very well. The traces on there were just about gone. But so this new Capstan motor, let's pray and hope that it's going to work, and I'm thinking that it will, but you never know. You know, so I'm just gonna put this wire back in here. Alright, there we go. So now we can put our lid back on, and I will take the top panel back off, and we'll put a tape in and see if the Capstan motor is going to work. Because if this Capstan motor works, we will be able to actually use the VCR. It will be fully functional again. Okay guys, so let's just see, hope and pray that this Capstan motor is gonna work. Now I sure hope it does. No, this Capstan motor don't work either. I was trying to work. There it goes. There it goes. Come on. Well, the Capstan motor is working. However, I think there's something going on because it's wanting to turn, but it's having some trouble. So, but you noticed the tape went back in? Capstan's working, there's something going on. So we have another issue. The Capstan motor works, but I think our controller is not pushing up against the Capstan, and so we're not getting any tape drive. That severely chewed up my tape here. I mean, it's pretty severe. I'm going to load it manually. See? It works. There's something going on with the controller. So the Capstan motor is working. So there's something going on with the controller. For some reason it's not pushing the tape against the head, but let's just let it play for a few seconds without the tape and see what happens, because yes, this Capstan motor is working and it is turning, but our tape was sure getting chewed up there. So let's get my tape back into cassette. I'm going to try it again. I'm thinking this has got a bad controller. Either that or it's not applying enough pressure against the Capstan. So we could have a servo problem still too, but I am verifying that yes, this particular is working. So if we go to rewind, it is working. So it is playing. So we've got a controller issue, I think. Here's something I just thought of as to what could be happening, and it could be that this bearing, the Capstan bearing, is this probably has been this whole Capstan shaft. It could have been pushed over if it's been pushed. And the Sony VHS machines had this issue where the controller was actually applying too much pressure, and slowly after time the bearing would go bent, and it would, instead of being straight, it would bend back. So when you go to play a tape, the controller is not making contact with the Capstan. So let's just try and tweak the bearing ever so slightly, just like that. Or we'll just, yeah, I can see where it's pushed. It's pushed out, so we're going to straighten it just a bit. Let me get my pliers here. You need to straighten that bearing. I actually have another bearing, so yeah, maybe I should get another bearing and put in it. But we're just gonna bend this bearing just ever so slightly, just like that. All right. Yeah, that should fix the problem. So let's try a different tape, because sometimes you have problems with tape. Also, if the tape is sticking to the drum, can cause problems too, but I'm thinking it was a bearing problem. Our take-up and supply reels are not turning. So when there's tension on this thing, I get it to move a little. See? See that? If I apply pressure, and it turns. Okay. Counter. Stopped. Okay, we've got a problem with the bearing or something. That's where this is not applying enough tension. So because this is what applies tension to it. So this tape is pretty chewed. It's pretty badly chewed now. But as we applied pressure to the pinch roller, it was playing back the tape. So with the pinch roller not engaging all the way, which as you can see by the counter, as it was playing. So there was, so we now have a completely different issue with this thing, which is what I was thinking, and I think, so I'm getting it to play, but our take-up reel is not working. See what's happening? It's putting several feet of tape. So it's spitting out feet of tape. I'm going to do a real table motor servicing. As you can see, I did bend back the shaft. However, I may go ahead and replace this Capstan bearing with another one, and let's get this thing working, because this thing does play now. As you can see by the counter, the tape counter is moving, so I was able to get it to do that. So yeah, oops, hold want to do timing. Reset counter. There it is, reset. After playing with this for a few minutes, I have made a very important discovery. The tape is not fully seated, and therefore it won't play. So if I hit play, plays. So the tape is not fully in the down position. So this thing works fantastically. It is wonderful. So what am I gonna do? Well, we gotta determine as to why the cassette housing is not putting the tape down all the way. So I'm gonna go ahead, stop it, and eject it. And we're going to find out what's going on with cassette housing. So we do need to take cassette housing out in order to diagnose it. So that's what we're going to do. And let's investigate. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to unpower the unplug unit. Alright, so we've got to take the front faceplate off. And in order to do that, we need to take the two screws out of the bottom. And we'll be able to get this plate off. So it is working now, and there was definitely something else that was causing the other Capstan motor was completely bad. There was something wrong with it. It was probably the IC that had went out on it. Like I said, normally you put a new cap in on the board of the Capstan motor, that circuit board, and it brings them back every time. Except for this one time where that other one, I suspect that the IC has went bad. So now we can go ahead and take the front off by basically just, there's two mounting tabs on each side. Yeah, there's two mounting tabs. There's 1, 2, and then of course on the other side there's mounting tabs. Now I gotta get a new piece to put over the tracking knob because that little plastic button, I forgot to take that off first before removing the faceplate when I removed it the first time. And guess what happened? Oh well, button came off, and have no idea where it is. So I'm gonna have to go and search for one off of one of my parts decks. Now this particular one, there's a catch up at the top here too that you need to remove, and then we're gonna also, we have to do the we have to take the screws out of the circuit board. So we take the two screws off, and what I'm going to do is disconnect the ribbon cable, and we have to disconnect the connector for the cassette basket. Okay, which is the black connector. Okay. Just remember to reconnect that ribbon cable or you'll have no controls. None of the buttons will work unless you plug that cable back in. Even the remote won't work. If I remember right, even the remote won't work if this is unplugged. So plug the circuit board back in when you're all done. But we're gonna pull the. I'm going to pull the cassette housing off, and we're gonna find out just exactly what's going on with the cassette housing, because I have a sneaking suspicion that there's a broken gear, which in turn means that I will have to more than likely just put a different basket in, because I have a basket. I think I have one more basket left. Alright. Now, so if we release this catch, I don't know if I'm going to find the problem, because well, this seems kind of like it's kind of in there crooked though, doesn't it? There could be a bad gear in here. More than likely, it's one of the gears that have cracked in here. And yeah, we could take this plate off and find out where the cracked gear is, but I've got another basket, so we'll just get a different basket. Well, we could run it through its paces, but yeah, I've got a basket, so I'm just going to put another basket in. So that parts 360 that I have has a basket. I've had a couple of I've had a few 360s, and most of the SLHF 360s I repair them. But I had a couple of 360s that had various problems, and they just became part stacks and just started stripping parts off of them. But so it's good news that our Capstan's working. This machine does work now. So this machine went from having the tape guides jam up to having one of the gears break in the loading motor for threading and unthreading. So we replaced that. You know, we had the problem where it wasn't lacing fully, it was not completing the loading cycle, and I was thinking because the head drum wasn't plugged in that was causing the issue. Well, it wasn't causing the issue. It was something wrong with the gear in the motor mechanism here. This is I call it the transmission, because it threads and unthreads the tape. So I've got another basket. We're going to put it in, and that should get this machine up and going, and it should make this machine run and work for quite some time. And just for the hell of it, we might hook it up to my entertainment center there. Why do we need 4 betas hooked up? Because I'm the Betamax man. That's why. Wait a minute. Do we want more Betamaxes hooked up to the TV? You can never have enough Betamaxes hooked up to the TV, right? Yep, sirree. Okay, so it's powered back on. I got the cassette housing in. Put the front faceplate on. Put the bottom piece back on. Put the screws back on the circuit boards. Tied up some wiring. Got the wiring kind of put back where originally they go. Somewhat. I think these audio wires here originally actually run up underneath there. So I'll probably do that at another time, but least for right now, all the wires are back up and tied. Back up pretty well similar to the way the factory had the wires. And let's power it on. Alright, let's see what happens. So this cassette housing is actually going to accept the tape. You'll notice that the other one was not accepting it. I actually had to push it in by hand, and of course it wasn't going down all the way, so it wasn't working. Let's see what happens. You see how the cassette housing moved when it loaded? There we go. I can hear the bearing just a little bit, so I need to lube the bearing. But let's counter. There we go. Tape counter. Well, the only thing left to do is to hook it up and see if it's got a picture. But before we do that, what I want to do is clean the heads. That bearing has been sitting outside it's been in another machine part stack, sitting outside in all the weather and the snow and the rain and the sunshine, so I'll need to put a little bit of oil in the bearing. There should be, I'm thinking that might be a washer missing. I think I see a washer that's missing, so I need to find a washer and put in there because, yeah. So we had some tapes getting chewed and eaten, but let's just clean the heads and we'll see if it's got a picture. So looks like the drum is in fairly good shape. It's a little bit on the shiny side, so we may just take that upper drum off and give it a good cleaning. But let's get I'm gonna take the paper and put it up against the head and turn it, and that will clean the heads, and we'll do the audio head, control track, we'll do the capstan. I cleaned the capstan by hand already, so we'll just clean it again from the top here. But I think there's a washer that's missing, because there's a washer that separates the bearing. It sits on top of the bearing, so you could put oil in the bearing and put the washer on, and that'll actually keep any oil from getting on the capstan itself. So I do gotta eliminate that, but let's just see if we got a picture, because I want to see if we got a picture. So I put a little bit of grease. So I just put a little dot of grease, and we're just gonna, we'll load we'll just pretend to load a cassette. And now you can see that the one dot of grease has got in there and now lubricated everything. There is a piece missing. There's a little tab, which is a brake, that is missing, so I'll have to put one of those back in there. I didn't notice that locking tab was not there, so must have been working on one, and so the locking tab is right there. So it's supposed to go in like that. So okay, as you can see, we've got the plastic tab back in. That tab keeps the basket from pushing in without a tape. So if there's no tape, this basket should not push in, and it's not. So that's good. And then when the tape goes in, it lifts the notch and unlocks the or it lifts it on the one side. It's a switch that rocks back and forth. So when the cassette is inserted, the basket will unlock and the tape will go in. So because this is a mono, I had to use what's called a Y adapter, which is this thing. So to fill in both channels, you can tell that the tuner is on. Super Beta on or off. Super Beta on. Just trying to think if there was a way to turn off the tuner, but I don't think there is. But this does feature a fully digital tuner, and you're not limited to the 14 channel preset that normally you would be bound to. So let's put the tape in and see what happens. Alright, we got a picture. Tracking. There we go. And it uses the Capstan motor, which drives the Capstan and pickup and supply reels. Oh, this is the commercial preview. So I can show this without getting hit with a copyright. This tape is somewhat degrading. The quality is not as good as the other tapes, some of the other tapes that I have. The quality is not bad, but yeah, so we have a picture. This machine has come a long way. One of the issues that we were having is that we had the tape jamming, which I think I did accidentally delete the footage from that, but the tape was not threading and unthreading, and it was actually kind of froze, and I had to take the whole loading ring out in order to put it all back together. I had to take the gear out on the bottom, clean it, put it all back together, and was able to get it so it'll thread and unthread. Then it wasn't completing the loading cycle, so we replaced the motor and gear assembly here. So then we got it to where it'll load, but then it wouldn't play or do anything else because Capstan motor wasn't working. So basically we changed out the Capstan motor with another one, and that pretty well got this thing going. And then we changed the cassette housing because the the old basket was not sucking the tape in, and also it was not fully seating the tape down all the way. It's a great movie, Whoopi Goldberg's first waking up. It's funny, the expression on her face. Yeah, the expression on her face is funny. You know, she was pretty good. Pretty good actor, I would say. And she played in Star Trek The Next Generation. She played the Gaiden, the bartender. And we got forward, reverse search. I'm just demonstrating the machine here. Looks like we got some tape dropouts, but like I said, this tape is a Fuji, and Fujis are okay, but they're basically just a hair better than Scotch. Fujis are okay, but I mean, somebody was asking me that. Hey, do you like Fuji? Do you like Maxell? What ones are your favorite? What ones do you want? Well, my top 3 tapes would be, number 1 would be Sony, number 2 would be Maxell, and number 3 would be TDK. Now, TDK is awesome because not only is TDK good tape, but they made it so you can see both windows on the beta cassettes. And that was really cool. And that's what I really like about the TDK tapes, is that you can see both reels. So as far as like quality goes, I would say that TDK is right up there with Sony and Maxell. Maxell, Sony, TDK, those are the best tapes you can get. Kodak, which Kodak tapes were made by TDK, so that's why the Kodak tapes also have both windows, is because they're made by TDK. But the tracking is just a hair off on this machine, because this tape is not fully seated in the middle for tracking. This tape is off on its tracking just a hair, but when we put the tracking in the middle, it seems to make this thing track perfectly. So I'm very, very happy with the way that this machine is performing right now. I would say that we got this thing up and going. We got all the problems fixed on it, and hey, it works. And this is the one machine that I was promising in some other videos I was talking about. The SL-S600 that I had one coming in, and about a week and a half ago, we were talking about it. This lady, the blonde-haired lady, she's a very beautiful woman. Yeah, sweet. So this machine has something that a lot of the two heads didn't have. It does have frame by frame. So we hit that button, we get frame by frame, and we can adjust the slow tracking. That's about as good as we're gonna get it. So it's not the greatest slow motion, but hey, for a 2-head. Now if we hit pause, yeah, this is for your slow motion. Now if we hit pause, we might be able to track it so that you get a good clear pause. I'm not sure. No, you're not going to get any better than that. But it did have frame by frame. That was one thing that it had. And you can hit the pause repeatedly and it will advance forward. But yeah, and the analog TV doesn't do it justice. I mean the digital TV, I mean. Digital TVs don't do analog video justice. But we can hit this slow motion button. And as you can see, it does do that. Let's adjust the slow tracking. And that's about as best as we're going to get. That's about all we're going to get for the slow-mo. It would be better on an analog TV. It'd be a lot better on an analog TV. But, yeah. That's what this one had, you know. Yeah, we've got reverse search. And we've got forward search. There we go. Rewind. Forward. Play. So there we go. It's got a working picture and everything. This is working. This is good. So this is awesome. It's good to have this up and going. And like I said, this is actually one of the nicest looking models. Now I believe this model came out in 1990 was when this one came out. So this was pretty much toward the end of life for beta format. Of course, 1993 was the last year. So 1993, you've seen the last Betamax, which was the SL-HF 2000 there, and that's the one that you would seen for the last one. And 91, which was a year after this was made, a year after, they had the SL-2100, which was the last high-end deck. So the 2100 was the last excuse me, the last high-end deck. High-end deck, I'd love to get a hold of a 2100. One of these days I'll have a 2100. Okay, well, the top is on. I have cleaned the machine on top and the front. I just gotta clean the back, but hey, you know, it works. Door is kind of sticking a little bit. I'll have to, I think the door is, maybe I gotta fix that door, because the door is not quite shutting all the way, but good picture though, even for a tape that has deteriorated a little bit. Still plays fine. I know that some people are wondering, like, what's the life expectancy of videotape? How long will it last? Well, some tapes I've got that are reaching 40 years old and they still play fine. And others are deteriorating at a fast rate. It really depends on how good the quality of the tape is and how it's stored. If it's stored in wet, damp climate, then the tape will deteriorate at a very fast rate. But if it's kept in room temperature, usually I think probably the average life of a videotape would be about 25 years, 30 years. But, you know, I got some tapes that are, you know, lasting better than that, you know, far beyond that. So, you know, tapes can last a very long time. But yes, there is a sad truth that the tapes will degrade over time. Yes, eventually the tapes will deteriorate at a point where they won't be playable anymore. But if they're not wore out or nothing like that, then, you know, tapes can last quite a long time. Now, for those of us who have large collection of movies on the beta format or the VHS format, yeah, there is going to be a time where the tape's going to deteriorate and it will no longer be playable. But until that happens, I'm going to keep enjoying my machine. So, yeah. So the door seems to stick when the tape is inserted. So I'm not quite sure why that's happening. I'll have to take it apart and investigate that. But for right now, hey, this thing works beautifully. And yeah, it is the sad, awful truth about tapes that eventually they will degrade to the point where they're no longer playable. That's why a lot of people recommend that you transfer your tapes to digital as soon as you can. Now what I can do is show you some of the tools that I use to digitize tapes. I do digitize tapes quite a bit. So, you know, but hey, you know, I'm enjoying the tapes while as long as they'll last, you know. I love the videotape form, you know, the beta format. I love. I grew up in a VHS household, but I've always known what beta was, and I always wanted to have one. And it wasn't until I got into my early to mid 20s that I was able to start buying beta VCRs because we had eBay. So, you know, there's a lot of great advancements happen. But, you know, I've been working on these for several years now, and I enjoy working on them. I still enjoy working on these betas. And somebody asked me the other day if I would be able to fix a power supply problem in a Sony Betamax, and basically I told them that yes, I could, and what you would need to do is send me the machine, but I said give me an email me, I'll give you the email address, you can talk to me and we'll talk about price. But yeah, I charge $30 an hour and plus parts, and also you guys have to understand that the parts that are getting put into your machines to make them work again are used parts, because you cannot get new parts anymore. So you have to scrap all, pick from one machine to fix another, and that's the name of the game with these old dead format, old technology that you know, it's just, you're gonna always have that issue. Anyway, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Now I do have a remote. It's not the exact remote it's not the right remote for this machine, but it is a remote that I do have that will work. I do have a remote for this. I do have the proper remote for the SL-S600, but I just don't know where it is quite right at the moment. But here's one that will work. This is for an older Betamax, but hey, you know, it'll work. Forward, rewind, anyway, yeah, so hey, it's working great, and you know, so anyway, and then we can rewind it. Yeah, that clicking sound you're hearing is actually the bearing in the motor. So that bearing is going to need to be lubricated, but we'll do that in another time. At least for tonight, you know, or today. I mean, hey, we got this thing up and going, and this thing is, I've actually been working on this machine since before New Year's, so been kind of working on it and thinking that maybe this was a lost cause, but finding out that nope, it wasn't a lost cause. It was fixable. Had a lot of problems, but hey, you know, I was able to overcome those problems. And we hit reset for the counter, put it back on the clock, power off, and there we go, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry that some of the footage was lost, but at least I had most of the footage. Most of the repairs that I did to this machine were done, and I have this machine now working great, so that's fantastic. We'll see you guys later. Bye bye.